Victor Hugo or somebody into these classics of literature where
Yeah.
young lovers are thwarted by poverty and social conditions and social limitations and class. We think of that as a 19th century relic, but it's what you're really saying here and what these studies are suggesting is that kind of tragedy, economically based emotional tragedy, is coming back, and we have a political class that idealizes the family. We have a pop culture that idealizes lasting love, but everlasting love, but we have economic policies that decimate both of those things, it sounds like.
Absolutely, and it's interesting when you look at, the what you might think of as the red states, the more conservative states. Lower income people in those states are, more likely to be evangelicals, for example. And the evangelical churches still preach this, the commitment to long-lasting marriage and partnership is a duty that's it's not just about your personal fulfillment, but it's about your duty to God. And unfortunately, so many of the people who are hearing that message simply can't afford to do it. So there's this real cultural disconnect between the values that are being espoused in the community or reflected in pop culture, et cetera, and what's really going on. Although it's really interesting, when I was a kid in the 1970s, the soap operas were such a big deal in the afternoon. It was all about love in the afternoon, and those shows were marketed towards middle class, working class, poor, even families and women in particular. If you turn on a soap opera today, that the audience for them has shrunk dramatically, but they're no longer really about love in the afternoon. They're about hookups and casual sex. You really don't see people making the commitment to long-term partnerships or even buying into the idea of romance the way you did, 20, 30 years ago. It's really fascinating to see how these cultural products are reflecting the changes in the larger society. And even among, college students at the more elite schools, you hear about this hookup culture developing because, unless you are very rich and your parents have a lot of resources, you have to be careful about who you're going to make a long-lasting commitment to. And so a lot of young people are like, oh, we're going to wait a few years after college to decide to, see how the job situation sorts out, and we're not going to make those kinds of commitments in college, so we're just going to hook up, have casual, brief encounters, relationships, and, be very careful about walking into a long-term commitment.